UKLC is presented by Barclays and Curry's PC World.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the UKLC as we're getting ready for game number 2 between Demise and Bulldog. Now, Bulldog, unfortunately for them, have had a very rough split. They haven't won a single game so far, while Demise have also been on a bit of a downward trend. They have chain lost 5 games back-to-back now. Is that 5? 4 games. 4. I can't count. 4. They've lost 4 games back-to-back so far. What's going wrong and what's going right for these teams?
Okay, first of all, Bulldog have had huge roster shuffles. They've been throwing things, they've been trying things, they've been just looking to get this team to click in one way or another. I think the key to success of Bulldog is Thomas Go. I think if you can get him into a strong carry position and you support him well, as long as he's having impact on the map, I think Thomas Go is the key. We've seen his Cassiopeia games, we've seen his LeBlanc games, they're all really good. Thomas Go, to me, is the primary person to play through if you're playing on Bulldog. For Demise, quite clearly, they have the best top laner in the league. I don't think anybody is disputing that. Rifty is like head and shoulders above a lot of other top laners that we have in this competition. But as we have seen, top lane is not in a position to 100% carry. Top side meta is not in the meta right now for a reason. Everybody plays through bot lane. And I think the challenge for Demise is figuring out who can carry that isn't Rifty.
Yeah. And I think typically what we've seen, especially in these last 4 games of Demise, the way people have beaten them is basically going, oh wait, Rifty is the strongest member and the only carry on Demise, so just send everybody up there, camp in, put him behind early, and after that it just feels like Demise start to crumble without Rifty kind of being that solid side lane threat that draws people around the map. So if I am on Bulldog, I would like to see some early attention onto Rifty and try and shut him down.
Sure.
If you're Demise, I'd actually like to see PFI get onto, this Elise. We know he loves these early junglers like Elise. Get on Elise and actually enable Rifty. It might not be the typical way to win the game, but they are good at it. They've shown that they're the only team in the league that can play through topside effectively. So why doesn't PFI just go top lane and set Rifty up?
It's so pick dependent though, and obviously the only real win condition for top laner is split push. Like that's how top laners win. Very few top laners in the meta right now do you get so far ahead of they solo carry team fight situations, right? So it's really pick dependent on what they do. I think actually what I would prefer to see from Demise is that Rifty actually wins 1v1, right, most of the time. Yeah. So if you want to win as Demise, figure out how you go even or you impact the other lanes. I think as long as Rifty gets sufficient vision control around the top side of the map, I think he's fine, right? I think for PFI the challenge is how do I get Beely unlocked? How do I facilitate my bot lane so that they don't get beaten? Because the problem for Demise has always been, like, if Rifty gets behind from camping, PFI isn't doing enough on the rest of the map to get the rest of his team into a carry position. So when Rifty falls, the rest of his team aren't able to step up. So I don't think the problem is playing through Rifty. I think Rifty can play through himself. That's kind of what Rifty's done through this entire tournament. The problem for Demise is how do we actually make the other lanes not int it?
Yeah. I feel also for Kera, kind of going back to the top lane, Kera definitely plays more neutral top laners, people who can clear the waves comfortably and safely. I believe Kera is the person who was playing. He's played a fair amount of Scion, if I'm right. So no, that's at least something you'll be able to break down if you can pick that out. So potentially you could just lock in this Scion and just try and play as a neutral lane as possible versus Rifty. So potentially, yeah, you might be right on that front. My worry is Beely versus Thomas, because last week Thomas on the LeBlanc was dragging Bulldog over the line. They did end up losing that game, but man, Thomas made that game so much harder than it needed to be for the enemy team just because of how clean his LeBlanc was. So if they can get the LeBlanc onto Thomas or something he can actually set himself up for success on, Beely is going to need that help from PFI. And Beely, I don't think we've seen a level from Beely that we know. If you've followed the UK scene for a while, Beely is a player who has been somewhat consistent, but as of recently, I'm not seeing the Beely that we kind of know and love.
Yeah, I feel like Beely hasn't had much opportunity to express himself, like in any other teams that I've seen him play on. I don't really think he's been given the platform for success. He's always seemed like a really promising mid laner. I think this end of split is the chance for him to kind of unlock himself in that regard. Hiprain, I think we'll dive into it when we get to Champions Select, but I think this half of the split, this will be big for Beely.
Yeah, I think we hope it is. Obviously, joining onto Demise recently, We'll have to see. Now, guys, we are going to cut to a quick break, and when we're back champ select for this game. You don't want to miss this one. It'll be spicy. We'll see you after the break. Hello and welcome back to the UKLC as we're getting ready to go into our second game of the day. It's going to be Demise versus Bulldog, and we are into champ select right now. Demise on the blue side and Bulldog on the red.
I always feel like Demise blue side is an indirect nerf to their team, because you're never going to get the opportunity, especially if Bulldog don't want to pick one of their top laners early. You're never going to get the Rifty counter pick opportunities. So this is one of the problems, Jake, when it comes to playing through top side. It's actually quite draft dependent as well. They are actually going to start. I think they're probably going to target Kera's top lane pool with a set ban, especially. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it does make. I like that. Obviously, denying that from Kera to kind of be able to deal with Rifty. The fresh gets taken away. We saw it actually fly completely through the last champ select. As the Volley Bear also banned away another champion that we didn't see in the last game, but was open. We'll have to see what is also going to get taken away. Fortail going to have his Graves removed. The Elise is still open for Demise if they want to go for that. So see what Bulldog want to take away. But there's a lot of AD carries left open. The Callista, the Felios, the MF. There's so many things open. So PFI is just going to have his Elise denied.
Yeah, at least getting banned away from PFI is nothing new, to be honest with you. We see that quite a lot against him. It's one of his more comfortable jungle champions. And they have that first pick potential, like Callista, like you said. Felios is up. Ezreal is still there, still very strong in the current meta. We'll see what they choose to go for. They're really thinking about it, and it's going to be the Ashe. It is something that is gaining more priority. It's something that the LCK love. Something else that the LCK love is Kennen, by the way. And it's something that's been played a lot during the split. They look for big teleport flanks. They really put value on that pick, and not a lot of other regions do. And it's a great blind top laner because there aren't many other top laners, I think, that can play well into the Kennen. So that's an interesting one to think about, I think, for this draft.
Now, though, it's going to be the Trundle picked up for the jungle for Fortel. Obviously, a fairly high priority jungler we've had the entire season, to be fair. Now over to Bulldog. What do they want to get as well here in this champ select? They can go for a support. They can go for an AD carry. Trying to think what has been left open and what you could want to pair or deny from the Ashe.
Aphelios is okay. Like it scales well. It just doesn't have the same kind of laning presence that the Ashe can have. I mean, Ashe has got a really good range. I think she's one of the second highest base range AD carries in the game. So she's got, the ability to sort of outrange a lot of her counterparts. Plus the volley makes it very, very difficult to deal with. I'd admit I haven't seen enough of Ashe versus Aphelios, but if the Damwon game is anything to go by, which was Damwon versus DragonX, Ashe absolutely crushes Aphelios. So I'm expecting that to be similar here for Demise.
They're actually going to lock themselves in the Bard here for Chromax in the bot lane. So some of it can roam, but also this is a fairly high damage bot lane for Demise. Now, you expect them to pick up a jungler for PFI. Typically, when I think of PFI, I think of early game junglers, people you can kind of look to snowball on early. So things like the Lee Sin are things we could potentially see here. We'll have to see what he wants to lock in. Looks like he is just going to pick up the Lee Sin, something he could kind of set up his lanes fairly early with.
When I think of PFI, I think Lee Sin, I think Elise. That's the two major champions that I associate with him. Thomas Go, you talked about the LeBlanc. You talked about the performance that he had on that champion. He is going to lock it in. Again, it's so important, I think, for a Bulldog Esports win to come from the mid lane. And it looks like that will be the case with Thomas Go here.
We'll have to see what Beely wants to answer out with that here. The Wukong is going to get denied. So kind of taking stuff away from Rifty. I would like to see the Orianna ban here from the side of Bulldog. Don't let Beely get something that can kind of comfortably scale up. And also, with the amount of shielding available, especially once you've got that Seraphs, it's really going to kind of shut Thomas down. So I'd actually like to see that. And I know Beely does favor the Orianna at the moment as well. The Lulu ban is something we've seen Girish play a lot of. So just denying him that Enchanter. They are going to ban away the Galio, something else that Beely does like to play. Obviously, has that global presence we saw in the last game, but also does very well into the LeBlanc with just how kind of bulky he is and how effectively he can kind of shut her down. So over to the side of Demise, they're looking for their final ban here.
I wonder if it's going to be another bot lane ban focus in this particular game. It's going to be the Karma that makes sense. Both of them are great enchanters, and both of them a Bard will find more difficult to abuse. And the Nautilus is going to get locked in here, so a bit more aggressive, and that's going to be an interesting bot lane to contend with. Now, Syndra and Orianna are both available. Syndra is still a solid pick for Beely in the mid lane, as is the Orianna, like you said. And then they also have to then go for a blind top lane for Rifty, which we've talked about being the case is makes the I would say kind of limits what Demise can do with the strength of their roster by being on blue side. But there are plenty of good blind top lane picks that Rifty can use to potentially put himself in a carry position. I mean, Maokai you might think is a bit of a meme, but it can kind of carry. I mean, Maokai is actually a bit of a lane bully when played correctly, and also might become just insanely tanky in that top side, especially if Rifty does get those advantages.
It's also showing a bit of flexibility on Demise here, because when every game it has been the Rifty show. If he carries, the game is won. If he feeds, the game is lost. He's now picking something that can kind of just go neutral in lane, farm up, and also just be a massive team fight tool for his team. And I see how effectively he can use going for those teleports. As Kira, actually, he's going to be the one that's going to pick up this aggressive top lane here in the Aatrox. So a bit of a switch around from what I was expecting coming into this champ select, where Rifty's gone for a more neutral top laner and Kira is looking to get the kills, looking to try and snowball the lane.
I think this is a pick that synergizes really well with Demise's comp, though. Like, you're playing around the team fight potential of the Maokai and the Orianna together alongside the Ashe. It's all about frontline disruption. It's all about CC. It's all about keeping the Orianna and Ashe safe for as long as possible to allow them to get consistent DPS output in team fight situations, which I think is a different and fresh style that we haven't seen from Demise. And maybe it will be good enough to sort of allow them more consistent victories. Bulldog, however, they have 1-3-1 potential. It's all about individual pick-off. I think as this game goes a little bit further, they then also have the late game backup of something like the Aphelios, but this is more sort of, I would say, kind of smaller skirmish focused with the Aatrox and the LeBlanc, and it can also split up into a 1-3-1 if you want to, if your solo laners are going well. There's a bit of flexibility to what Bulldog can do here, but really, Demise is the comp that I'm really interested in seeing how it pans out, because it's just so very different from what I'm used to for them.
Yeah, I like to see some change in both of these teams, really. You can definitely see Bulldog leaning heavily on the fact that Thomas is their star player, the person who can look for the carry potential. Actually taking the Ignite on LeBlanc as well. Typically in competitive, most LeBlancs are taking the teleport, so they can have obviously that pressure if bot lane kind of counter ganks are needed. Thomas is playing purely for the lane here. He wants to jump onto Beely, slap that Ignite down, and get himself the kill as quick as possible, deny Beely, and let just snowball the lane. So we're going to have to keep our eyes on Thomas in laning phase, because LeBlanc can be a horrendous bully to deal with for this Orianna. Chromax, I'm curious to see what he wants to do on this Bard, because obviously when you play Bard, normally you want someone who can kind of handle the lane on their own and can kind of step away and play safe. Obviously with the volley, Proxy can farm from a distance, but Ashe is typically a mobile, so if Chromax goes off for a roam, when you've got a Aphelios who, if he has Gravitum, and you have Girish who can land the hook with the dredge line and stuff like that, Bulldog actually could punish in the bot lane onto Demise.
Yeah, I mean, Ashe isn't like the most safe solo side bot laner, but she does have, like you said, that volley. She can clear waves with that moderately easily. It's not like it's an Ezreal, though. Like, she's definitely susceptible to dives, and they will always have to be a little concerned about that when dealing on the bot side of the map. But it's not really about that for Demise. Like, Demise's strength comes in the pure 5v5. You know, when you have an Orianna and a Maokai, that's what you're talking about. You have the potential with Bard to excel in smaller catches and skirmishes, but realistically, the strength of their composition is going to come when they are grouped up, and that is so different from the style of Rifty that we're used to seeing, where he's like solo side lane split pushing to try and win the game himself. This is going to be a big, refreshing style of play from Demise, and something that I'm actually really excited to see in action.
Alrighty, well, we're loaded through on to the Summoner's Rift for game number 2. Bulldog 0-8, looking for their first win. And I genuinely feel like if there are going to be some teams they might find a win over, Demise could be that team. They've been having a rough couple of weeks, and this could be the moment where Bulldog finally pull it back. And for Demise, it's also onto them. They want to try and pull it back as well. 2 weeks without a single win. They need to find it. And they're looking to shift up their tactics a little bit, not play through Rifty, and allow Beely and Proxy to carry this game.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, if Bulldog are going to get a win anywhere, Barrage and Demise are your easiest targets, just statistically, in terms of win-loss ratio. Demise have had identity problems. They've had problems dealing with the way the meta is more comfortably played right now. Like we said, they've had issues establishing threats outside of Rifty. And now this is the game to prove that you don't need Rifty to be your carry potential. You know, you have Beely, you have Proxy, you can work with these guys as your carries. Whereas Bulldog, you know, they've got Thomas Go on a big pick. He's on the LeBlanc with the Ignite. He's looking to establish himself. He's looking to be super aggressive. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking at Thomas Go being the main driver behind Bulldog. And if Bulldog can pick up a win here, honestly, that would be my success for the season for Bulldog, because I don't think they're making playoffs. I think they're kind of out of the running at this point in time.
I'm pretty sure they can't make playoffs anymore.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Orcs is the one who's smart and knows all that stuff, but I'm fairly certain you're right. I don't think they can.
Well, you know, and exactly. So I think that getting a win here would be huge, because you don't want to end the season on 0 wins. You know, that just doesn't feel bad, man.
Yeah, that is. They're looking for the moral victory here. Now, Thomas has got the shove in the mid lane over Beely. Obviously, with the phase rush on the Orianna, it is somewhat easier to break the chains from Thomas. You prop the phase rush and just bolt away and try and break them as quick as possible. Rifty's actually having a pretty decent lane versus Kira. Kira, the Deathbringer stance, obviously does have a fair amount of sustain to himself, so should be able to heal up. Rifty, once again, just jumping in, actually winning out the trades versus the Aatrox.
Honestly, like, Maokai is a monster if played correctly in lane, dude. Like, he can be a real nuisance. Like, his Twisted Advance, it can be used to cancel out, like, really, like, It could just be used to cancel out the right thing. Obviously, the Fortel now heading up towards this top lane.
Oh, that pillar was not where it needed to be. Rifty's just buying time. Kira's trying to put some damage in with those Darkened Blades and actually healing up the Deathbringer stance. Rifty will also heal as now the teleport's coming in, and Bulldog actually just bit off too much. Fortel flashes over and Nearby slides in. It's a disaster. As Feely finds first blood.
What did I just watch?
Rifty just played round and roundabouts with Fortel for like 30 seconds while his team got the bases and teleports in. Oh.
Goodness gracious. Beely picks up first blood as well. The blue buff is so good for the Orianna early on. It's actually going to limit Thomas Go's kind of lane presence and lane sort of lane dominance here. So Beely getting a blue buff, especially if he backs off this, backs off that first blood gold, picks up a lost chapter. Like, that's disgusting for Beely. Super, super good start for him.
He shoves a massive wave into the face of Thomas Go as well. So Beely's going to be able to go for the base, get himself his item, and I actually don't think Thomas is going to get a chance to base himself, and now he hasn't got that teleport because he took the combat summoner and the ignite. Means that his basing actually could be fairly costly.
Yeah, he has to deal with the wave that Beely was able to shove in. So Beely's going to get a back off before him, and as soon as Thomas Go tries to back, Beely's going to be able to shove that wave in with blue so easily, and with very little consequence as well. So that's just really nice. It's a really nice setup for Beely here. He's going to head back to lane. Thomas Go's going to have to either stay and catch the waves, and have his back delayed, or he's going to back and miss waves, and that's an issue for Thomas.
Man, Rifty's doing so much damage to Kira. Kira obviously has a lot of sustain just through being an Aatrox, and we'll be able to turn that around when he lands the sweet spot on the Aatrox Q. So
I mean, it's not a matchup. It's not a matchup that Maokai should win. That's for certain. No,
it's kind of surprising seeing him win it. Demise, though, they are going to turn their attention towards this early Cloud Drake. Is a nice one for them to get nice and early. Could set up a potential soul win condition, and Fortel help kind of neutralize the lane just so Thomas Go can go to base and start to pick up some items. Beely's gone for the Merc Treads as his first base, so he is playing perfectly to negate Thomas right now.
Yeah, but also playing very defensively. Like, he's not utilizing that first blood advantage to put pressure on Thomas Go. He's just using it to nullify Thomas Go as much as physically possible, which might be the correct move. You know, maybe if you just don't give Thomas Go the opportunity to excel, then that's the better play overall for you as a roster. And now Misclick going to get forced the flash. Chromax flashes forward as well.
Yeah, I think it's probably the right move, neutralizing Thomas. Obviously, LeBlanc is all about early mid, where the Orianna, especially if he gets the Tier of the Goddess build, is going to really scale into the late game. So the longer it goes, the more viable he will be on this Orianna. Heads bot lane to see if they can set something up. Misclick, forced to clash, does still have that cleanse, however. But I'd like to see PFI go back down towards the bot lane and try and punish punish Misclick for not having flash.
Well, he's going to be very immobile, especially post 6. That's going to be a very big issue for Misclick. That's why he's gone for the cleanse here as well. You know, he knows that the Bard stun, the Ash arrow into Bard stun is also going to be a huge issue to deal with. So that's why the Aphelios in this situation has taken the cleanse.
Good stun there. Curious, he's going to land a hook in response. Misclick takes a fair amount of damage from Proxy. They get another tether off onto Proxy. He's inside the minion wave and has to burn the healers. He gets ignited, but a great stun from Chromax will force Misclick to cleanse. Demise actually do take the better of this trade bot lane.
Apologies if anyone can hear my dogs just yelping in the background. Periodically they just like to decide that they're wolves, and I don't really know why they do it. like it's usually because they're just like in the kitchen and they don't want to be in the kitchen, so they just start like howling like wolves. I'm like, no, dogs, unfortunately that is where you stay.
My dogs bark at everything that moves past the house.
Yes.
One of them sits by the door and stares out the window, and every person but walks past and might have to hold that. He's able to take the magical journey out. That's a good interrupt though.
Rifty finally picking up some armor in this matchup. Oh, that's this beautiful use of the Twisted Advance. It's kind of what you expect to see here. Kera will win trades with a Maokai, but now that Rifty's picked up the armor, he should be able to sustain a bit more readily. PFI coming through. That's the ultimate from Rifty.
Yeah, Kira's actually used the World Ender to try and keep some sustain going, but he gets top locked in place. The kick is on, and Kira trying to sustain, but unable to do so, but almost lives out for that third Q. Not going to be able to find it, though. PFI secures the kill.
And Beely, you could see just getting the edge over Thomas Go in this matchup right now with those Merc treads. It's a great early start for him. Would love to have that second blue buff, but with the backs coming through, the pick up the kill onto Kera, and the back of Thomas Go without that teleport, it's now going to allow PFI to go for the Rift Herald here, and they have actually swapped their bot lane up as well.
It's almost typical, though, to see, in this case, especially if in the Aphelios lane, just to stay in bot lane and try and get the plates. He's got the chakram, so actually he'll be able to cut through these towers fairly quickly for himself, and with the Infernum also able to clear through the waves. They got a fairly large wave, so they should be able to pick up at least 3 plates here in this bot side. They could potentially lose out on first turret blood, but that's the turret melting combo. Red and white gun. Rifty is here to try and catch the wave.
That's very, very common for the Aphelios, like you said. If you're not willing to compete for the Rift Herald, you do have that shredding capability on this champion, getting some free gold from the turrets. It's going to allow you to accelerate your build nicely. Perfect sense, as Rifty's picked up the Bramble Vest here as well. So really just looking to edge out Kera in the 1v1 matchup if he needs to. Now Kera's healing is going to take a hit, which is really nice for Rifty. This is kind of a small break point that might allow him to take more favorable trades versus this Aatrox.
I'd actually like to see an Execution was cooling on Kira as well to be able to do a Rifty's healing, because there's a lot of sustain just passively in this top lane. So I think that cooling could be quite nice for Kira. It's a cheap item, at least kind of matches the healing reduction that Rifty's going to be dealing to Kira. So it looks like the swappers come back down. Proxy and Chromax are in the bot lane. PFI has the Rift Herald, and he's also hanging around the mid to bot side of the map, so expect to see him probably prop down this Herald in the bot side.
Yeah, we'll see where they can make an impact. Obviously, the ideal scenario for a Rift Herald is that you pick up the the turret outright, but obviously just plates is like the worst case scenario. Looking like they've committed all of their units to the bot side.
Big shockwave actually gets the kickback, and Kira's already been picked off. Fortel Subjugate is on, and he is going to get locked in place. Proxy knocked up by the depth charge, but the shields are on, and Fortel just about survives. Proxy flashes forward and secures the kill. Girish now, he is the one being hunted down as the volley will finish him off. Proxy finds a double kill, and this should just be Dragon for Demise.
Bulldog can't catch a bloody break, mate. That was 4 versus 5. And they just didn't set up correctly. They committed Kera to the bot side of the map for second Dragon. Like, they made that decision that they would commit their top laner, knowing that Rifty would either have to burn teleport and didn't have it right when that fight broke out. And they still lost. That's disastrous for Bulldog in this scenario.
Absolutely. Thomas actually jumps in forward onto Beely. Chains are going to get broken by the pillar, unfortunately, but it's a couple of plates getting picked up in the mid lane. Like I said, it's not best case scenario of getting first turret blood, but it does always mean that if roams come out from Thomas, it could be rough as Kira. Looking for something onto Rifty, not going to find it. Looks like Demise are just going to step back.
I mean, Rifty's not expected to win the 1v1 versus Kera, right? Maokai, I think beyond like the level 2, level 3 mark, you're not going to have trading potential versus someone like an Aatrox, especially with the sustain that he has in his kit. But the fact that Rifty's only 25 CS down and hasn't lost a huge amount of plates, is still remaining relevant in this game. It's a good area for him to be in, and I'm really loving this different style that we're seeing from Demise. It seems to me that the rest of their team has stepped up to the plate to say we don't need to solely rely on Rifty to be our carry. You know, we have other ways of winning the game, and that was a really lovely executed 4v5 team fight for Demise.
Oh, so unlucky. Bulldog wanted to set up for the play onto Proxy. Proxy played that very well. Very heads up for him not to just walk up and try and catch the wave. He played as calm as possible, and Fortel was also down there. So Demise don't lose anything bot side. And one of the things we can now track is that Kira doesn't have teleport, as he teleported into that last skirmish. Rifty will. So Bulldog lost a 4v5. I think Demise is definitely going to win a 4v5.
He didn't even teleport into that last skirmish. He walked down, then had to teleport back up top because Rifty was getting too many plates. I mean, look, Rifty's taken what? 3 plates on the top side of the map? because Kera was bot side just messing around in that team fight that they ended up losing.
Yeah. You can see that Kera actually does lose out on the short trades, but the long trades go in his favor.
Yeah, Rifty needs all of his cooldowns to take a successful trade versus Kera. If Kera just backs out, he has the better overall sustain.
Yeah. Beanie's actually gone for the Hex for the GLP. Easier, obviously, to proc the phase rush, and means you can kind of lock people in place. You have to hit it, though, unfortunately, Beely. So not going for the tier build on the Orianna, which obviously means there is less shielding available to him, but still obviously has himself the shield from his E.
It's looking like a really good start for Demise, but they need to continue to apply that, apply that pressure. Right now, Rifty's scaling up in terms of tanking really well. You have the first item breakpoint nearly being finished for the Ashe, which is the Blade of the Ruined King. Hextech GLP for Beely. So that tells me that he's playing a more supportive role in these team fights. He's looking to facilitate, and I'm guessing they're looking to facilitate proxy, because this is a very kind of like utility-focused Orianna. He's looking to get the perfect opportunity to set up for a shockwave off, more so than looking for the pure outright damage, which is why he's gone for this particular build. Obviously hasn't gone for Glacial Augment in this scenario, with the phase rush, like you said, being able to be a bit more defensive utility. But he's definitely not going to have the same kind of damage output that a lot of other Oriannas would have at this stage of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. Rifty, double armor items, actually, is just able to jump in, throws out the ultimate, misclick has to cleanse.
No way.
Rifty 1 versus 2, looking for the kill, and he gets it! Oh no! It's gone so wrong. Beely's teleported in. The shockwave will bring them back, and Fortel getting arcane smashed as Beely secures the next one. All right, I guess Rifty can carry on tanks as well.
Oh no! This is so bad for Bulldog. Oh, it couldn't have gone much worse for them. I mean, Misclick is obviously not in a strong position right now. I mean, with the Sunfire cape, all Rifty needs to do is keep himself in range, and he's going to have, pretty solid trades versus a lot of other players. Plus, when obviously the Sunfire, when you apply CC, you get a lot of damage out of it too. Damn.
Oh, my Lord.
Bulldog can't catch a break, mate.
I didn't think I'd see a Gravitum Aphelios with a support Nautilus get killed by a tank there. That was not something I expected seeing coming into this game, but Demise do get themselves their second Rift Herald. They've taken top lane turret already. Probably see them finish off this mid lane, to be honest. We'll have to keep our eyes out on that. Infernal Drake spawning up, and Bulldog are probably going to want to try and contest this. Don't want to have to deal with another early Infernal Soul in this in today's game.
They're so far behind item spikes, though. Like, this is a death sentence to me if Bulldog want to go for this. They would require I mean, Thomas Go hasn't even finished his Ludens, which is terrible because Ludens is such an important item spike for that LeBlanc. I actually think they can contest this easily.
No, with the Rift held out, it's actually going to pull everyone over to deal with it. Rift Tail will finally fall, as it won't get its charge out. Just stand still a little bit there. Infernal Drake getting started up, and Demise are actually gonna go for it. Thomas jumps in, gets caught out by the tether. Great Cosmic Tempered Fate will actually lock a couple in as a two-man shockwave comes down by Beely. Misclick's gonna fall. Chromax flashes forward, misses out on the Q, but PFI slides in and out. 2 easy kills for Demise, and this should just be the turret to follow.
There's nothing you can do in that situation. Like you just don't have the item spikes. You didn't get ahead, and you didn't get Thomas go ahead. You really aren't in a situation where you can be competing for third dragon in the game. And I know people love to compete for third dragon in the game, but in this situation, you're just not strong enough.
But watching PFI clear out, Kira is just about to get away, but he almost got picked off there by the support mid combo from Demise, and it looks like now Demise are shifting their members up towards his bot lane. Last tier 1 turret standing will crumble to the demolished proc as well, and the wave.
This game felt like it was lost from that 4v5. They lost so much from that 4v5 loss around Dragon because they just weren't in position. They rotated Kera down, but they weren't grouped and they were split, and so it wasn't even like a true 4v5. It was more like a 4 versus 2 than a 4 versus 2.
Oh! Thomas just gets a shutdown on PFI.
I mean, it was a really nice mechanical play from Thomas. Obviously, the Luden spike coming in big, like we said, but what does it get you? It doesn't get you anything. Like, it's really nice to see, but...
It was a bit of shutdown, but they weren't able to contest the tower anyway, so I guess at the end of the day, you got some gold onto the player that you want to get the gold onto, but has he missed the mark is the question for me.
Yes.
Because we wanted to see more from him early and mid. Obviously, we're into mid game right now, but the rest of his team are just getting punished elsewhere.
Infinity Edge is there, but you're already nearly like an extra item behind the Ashe right now. When you said has he missed the mark, I think yes, he has. Like, you know, the strength of LeBlanc is kind of being able to just roam to those side lanes, get individual picks. Yes, okay, he's 1-0-0 right now. He's still got a CS lead on Beely, but I don't think he's strong enough to start being an actual threat that can solo carry these team fights. You can see they're split out into the 1-3-1. That is actually the best way of trying to draw out Demise's team comp. Like, obviously, Demise are better when they're grouped up. They are better when they have Beely working in the team. So if Thomas Go can go to a side lane and force Orianna away, then that is like a good scenario for them, right? And Thomas Go is probably looking to do that. But it might be just too little too late for me. Like, this is now splitting to survive rather than splitting to win. And I guess they're now relying specifically on Misclick to be the main driving force behind their endgame win condition.
And this split has to end at some point, because in 1 minute, 55 seconds, the Infernal Soul is spawning up. Bulldog do not want to be dealing with an Infernal Soul. The amount of additional poke, the amount of additional wave clear is just going to make the life so hard for Bulldog. So this split can only go for so long. Obviously, will facilitate them some gold. And Kira now getting chased down by Rifty. Has to pop the world ender, gets kicked into the wall, slowed, rooted, tethered down. Kira, nowhere to go. Will fall as PFI secures himself the kill.
And PFI at 3-1-2 is a significant backline threat in his own right. You know, he has that ability to execute out. He'll have that Black Cleaver finished up as well. So even Misclick, you can't cleanse a Lee Sin kick at the end of the day as well. I'm just struggling to see the avenue that Bulldog used to win this game. That's all.
It's gonna be a hard one, especially with Demise able to find a pick onto one of those split pushes and shut them down. Rifty now getting some free time in the bot lane. He is going to chip away at this turret fairly quickly, but also mid lane's getting focused up by Demise. It just feels like Bulldog don't have the opportunity to step up and deal with one of these waves, as Rifty's just going to take a tier 2 turret with this one wave.
Yeah, Demolish is pretty strong in that regard. Get a lot of flat damage against those towers. Rifty's too tanky. I really, really feel that Rifty's too tanky to kill. PFI may have overstepped, though. Thomas Go finds the blow up.
Thomas just absolutely pops him. The chains are run into the Infernal Chains, and Rifty now getting a lot of damage put in. The Subjugate's on, and Bulldog should just find himself the kill. Thomas Go 3-0 now on the LeBlanc on a killing spree. And this actually will deny the Infernal Soul from Demise. That was a great turnaround for Bulldog.
Yeah, really bad positioning from PFI and Rifty, though. They weren't really thinking about the consequences of where they were sat. And you can see Chromax and Proxy just going to try and trade a tier 2 in the mid lane for this. That was...
It's gonna be one.
How hard is that going to come back to bite them is the question, right? Because that was a kill, a couple of kills that led to some kind of tangible advantage for Bulldog. That denies the Infernal Soul. It buys another 4 minutes, another 5 minutes. What can those 5 minutes be used to do? Can we get an extra item on our Aphelios? Are we going to be in a competent position to 5v5 by the time that next Dragon Soul fight rolls around? I don't think Demise will make the same mistake again in terms of overextending. So that is what we're looking at for the next Dragon fight. Like, this has bought 5 minutes of time for Bulldog. What can that 5 minutes do for this team?
The onus is definitely on Bulldog to execute the extra time they've just been given. That Phantom Dancer, the Hurricane for Misclick should come through fairly soon. He's got the Zeal, he's got one of the daggers necessary. But he's still down in items to Proxy, and even in a flat 5v5, if gold is even, You have still got that Ash Arrow. You have still got that Shockwave. So Misclick can be liable to getting caught out. Obviously, he does have a cleanse for himself. And you see the individual gold between the AD carries. 9,800 onto Proxy. 7,100 onto Misclick. He is significantly behind Proxy. He's a level down on him. Misclick's really going to need to get as much gold funneled into him for this next dragon.
And like I said, with that 3 minutes is on the clock now. I really don't envision that Demise make that same error once more. And they're going to wait here. They're going to get stunned. Oh!
Gyrus is down. Misclick has to flash away from the Tempered Fate. Kira throws out the Infernal Chains onto Rifty, and that is just a nice and easy pick on to the support for Bulldog. Demise got the Magical Journey. They're just going to try and bolt over towards the Baron. Start it up. It is probably just a bait with a 4v5. Thomas needs to find another one of those clutch one-shots. Kira's going to tank out on to the Saplings for now. Can Bulldog stop this Baron? Can they find the picks necessary? 4,400 health onto Baron. They know what's going on, but Misclick's instantly jumped onto by Rifty. Misclick's going to fall down as Proxy secures the kill. Thomas caught out by the Shockwave as well. And Demise just bail out the pit and look to mop up the kills. But actually, Fortail is able to find one. Proxy's got himself a double kill. He's looking to chase onto Fortail. Now it's Girish who's getting run down and cut down. Slowed down by the side of Demise. And only 2 of Bulldog survive. Rifty just instantly punishes Misclick for stepping up.
Yeah, it was the correct decision as well. It wasn't quite a 50-50 with PFI having the level advantage on Fortail, but you don't want to risk a smite war in this scenario. There's no need to give Bulldog any extra advantages than you've already gifted over to them. Now the Blade of the Ruined King is going to start doing work versus this Baron. They should, with Rifty, be able to do this. But again, respawns are coming through. Fortail has the opportunity to walk into the pit here. Does not have the flash, obviously, so he can't make a flash steal, so he'll be a bit more telegraphed. Teleport's coming through.
They're looking for that fight, though. It's a very, very slow Baron. Fortail getting chunked out. The Shockwave will land. Kira looking to come in as Misclick's firing over the wall. 2k health onto this Herald, onto this Baron, as Kira is going to get taken out. Double kill for Beely. Misclick never going to be able to join in time, and that is Baron for the side of Demise. Bulldog just feeding an extra 3 kills into the Baron pit. Demise very, very far ahead now.
Again, like, I think once you had that opportunity for a flash steal off the cards of Bulldog, it was the wrong decision to try and go face-to-face. The zone control that Beely and Proxy have in skirmish and teamfight situations, I mean, you're never walking through that. You're never going to just... It's like waltzing through the door of a police station trying to get into the weapons closet. Like, you're never gonna be able to do it. There's too much stopping you from just making that walk happen. And obviously you saw it there for Kera, for Fortail, and for Girish. Like, they just couldn't make that walk. Too much slow, too much zone control, and Demise played it perfectly.
And we wanted to see Demise hit some different play styles, and they are doing that very, very well. So it is nice to see this.
Well, it's just nice to see, like, Rifty not be the sole carry for this team. And don't get me wrong, Rifty's actually done a lot here. Teamfight breaking out.
Yeah, Temper Fate has been used. Rifty pops himself the Righteous Glory, but a massive shockwave by Beely allows them just to tidy up the fight. A double kill once again for Beely as Rifty jumps onto the backline. Thomas trying to get an assassination off of the Proxy, but he is going to get squashed. He does take out Chromax, but Thomas trying to heal, trying to sustain for the moment as Kira is onto PFI, gets himself the knockups. The Darkened Blades will not find their marks. Demise running on low HP will finally crack open this mid tier 3 turret.
It wasn't the cleanest in the world, though, Hip Brain. Thomas Go still showing us, as we said, this guy is the carry for Bulldog. If there is one diamond in the rough that is the Bulldog desert of wins, it's Thomas Go. Like, this guy actually has some real potential. And you can really see it now. He's going up towards that Infernal Drake. Unfortunately, Demise are already back in position for this, but Thomas Go has been pretty stellar so far. And I think if Bulldog are going to get a win, it's that you play through this guy as your primary carry.
Thomas looking to try and zone Beely out. Takes a lot of damage doing so. Proxy on the flank on the Ashe. Look for the Ashe arrow. The volley already there to slow. Chromax will join in with the magical journey as PFI misses out on the kick. In goes Rifty onto the backline. Gets himself a kill at the Foretail. Misclick dodges away on the Tempered Fate as Thomas Go has to ping back in and out. But Proxy will find himself a legendary kill. Misclick could not do anything but watch his support die. As Kira and him are going to get run down. Infernal Soul onto Demise. Beely and Rifty just look to run Misclick and Kira down. And there is nowhere to go, as their base will get crumbled as well in the meantime. Rifty's just trying to get onto Misclick. Kira doing a pretty good job of keeping him alive, but they are just buying time. They're just wasting time as Kira is going to get taken out so easily. Misclick will be next to full as he finally goes down. Beely dominating. Teleports are coming in. Foretail's going to spawn up, but he's not going to be able to defend this in time, as the Nexus turrets will fall. 28 minutes on the clock, closing in on 29. And Demise are going to be able to close out versus Bulldog.
It was just ease of execution to a nutshell, but honestly, the real beginning of the end for Bulldog was the first dragon fight, or the second dragon fight, where they went down, they committed the Kera walking from the top lane without a teleport, and they tried to go for a 5v4 force. And they split, got caught out by Beely, and I think Beely had an excellent game. Like, we wanted to see this guy step up. We talked about how important it is for him to become a really sort of promising UK mid laner, and Beely had a good performance. So good that I forgot to turn my lights back on after the game ended. So yeah, it was. That's what I wanted to see, and it shows a different style to Demise, which is really nice.
Yeah, Proxy and Beely both had incredible games, and that's the key thing there. It wasn't the Rifty show. Sure, Rifty did get that 1v2 solo kill, which was kind of crazy to see him get on the Maokai. He handled lane fine, and Rifty, showing us why he is probably the best top laner in the league, if not, undoubtedly the best top laner in the league. But Demise showed us they are not a one-trick pony. They're not all about Rifty playing top lane. They can play around the mid and bot like we like to see all the other teams do in the league, and that is them kind of trying to pull themselves back out of a rut, because they're currently third from bottom. They're sixth in the league, and a win there is big. So there's still time for them to actually climb in and potentially make it to the playoffs. So they've still got a bit of a ways to go, but that is a step in the right direction for Demise. Oh,
I 100% agree. I think it's also really refreshing to see that Rifty is just as strong on a tank top laner than he is on trying to be the solo carry in the side lanes. Beely had an excellent performance, great team fight presence, shockwaves. I can't name a single. I don't think one single shockwave whiffed that entire game. I think he always had an impact with it. Like you said, Proxy played the Ashe perfectly. I love the priority that went onto it for him, because he was stellar on that AD carry. Like I said, I can't really name anybody on the, and PFI was fantastic too. There are too many people on the Demise roster who had a great game that game for me to really turn around and say that it was any one in particular person that kind of stood up. I think everybody played well. For Bulldog, like I said, it's rough to see Bulldog down at 0-9 now, but Thomas Go, he is the person. Like, he is the guy who I think if they're gonna get a win, it'll come through him. I feel bad because he's quite clearly a strong mid lane talent, but I still think that he's getting the chance to show what he can do. Even through these losses, there is that glimmer of hope that he's providing to the team.
Yeah, Thomas is definitely shining in a rough situation. Now, for me, going into like future Demise games, I want to see that, but versus teams that aren't 0-8 or 0-9. I want to see that versus some of these higher level teams. And can Demise play that effectively through their mid and bot without Rifty being a carry against the likes of like London or M&M? That's where I want to see them try this and actually shine, because it's all very well and good we see them get a very, very dominant win there. But that is versus Bulldog, who are at the bottom of the league. So let's see if they continue this trend and if they can pull it off versus the stronger teams in the league.
Yeah, completely agree. I don't want to get ahead of myself for Demise. Like you said, I think by quite a clear margin, Bulldog are the weakest team in the league. But it was just promising to see that style from Demise. And like you said, their next game will be very telling. If they can continue this kind of performance versus some of the top tier teams, then I've got real hope that this team can be a strong potential playoff contender with the remaining games that we have left to go.
I actually did say I want to see how they pull it off versus London, especially with London playing really well earlier on in the day. Demise are playing London tomorrow, so we actually get to see how they pull it off if they look to play around London in that game. So we'll have to see if that is tomorrow. We still have 2 more games to go here at the UKLC, so we've still got more to go. Coming up after the break, it's going to be Barrage and Munster, but we do have a quick interview before that as well, so don't go anywhere. We'll see you after the break. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the UKLC. We have an interview with Rifty. However, he doesn't have a camera. So, Rifty, can you hear us? How you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you guys?
I'm good, buddy. So, glad to hear from you. We haven't had a chance to speak to you so far in the UKLC. So, you guys currently, you had a bit of a dip over the last 2 weeks, bouncing back versus Bulldog today for a very different play style as well, where it's not just the Rifty will carry show. Is that something you guys have been working on over the last few weeks, is to kind of play through the other players on the team and not just you?
Well, yeah, obviously, since we had quite a few little roster shuffles, we decided to try a few different play styles as well. So we're kind of just experimenting and seeing what works, what doesn't. And obviously, as you can see today, Beely and Proxy just popped off like absolute legends. So it's a play style that clearly might have some promise for us, to be honest.
Yeah, how is that for you? Because I think I always think of you as one of the most versatile top laners, probably just the best top laner that we have in the UKLC period. I mean, I would almost argue that you're kind of up there in the rankings on the NLC top laner level as well. What is it like for you going from being like the split push side lane menace to going on to Maokai? Obviously still managing to 1v2, but like, is it a style that you enjoy, or do you just sort of prefer being that carry top laner? What's your view on that style of play, just given your skill set?
Well, I mean, I'm a top laner, you know, so like I want to be playing these bruisers and going for the 1v1s, the 1v2s, and that sort of electric Chinese style gameplay where it's just constant action, you know. But if being on the tanks is what works better and gets us wins, I'm more than happy to do that. I've played my fair share of tanks over the years, you know, so it's all part and package of being a top laner, you know.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm a Scion one trick, mate, so I completely resonate. But it's kind of exciting to see you back in competitive league again, because obviously you had a split over. Where did you have you had a split on a team in Germany or in France? Where was the last time you had a split?
My last two were on Unicorns of Love in Germany, and then Pride in Poland.
And obviously coming back to the UK, kind of was your home ground realistically. What are your goals for your own your sort of your personal play? Are you looking towards leagues like the NLC, or are you just kind of taking it a day at a time?
It's just a day at a time. As long as I can perform as best as I can for Demise, I'm more than happy, to be honest.
It's nice to hear. So obviously, being a veteran top laner here in the UK scene, we got, especially in the UKLC, we got a lot of kind of, you know, fresher faces. Are there any top laners that have kind of you see potential in? Obviously, you know, in a way, everyone's kind of a competitor with you in that sense. But is there any like top laners that you see there's actual potential to be maybe the new Rifty in the future?
Yeah, actually, I think I made a tweet about it a little while ago. I think it was Aragon and Bear Tree that I'm sort of keeping my eyes on, just because whenever I watch them, they've got decent mechanics, but the sort of important part that I see is they're versatile. They're willing to fill whatever their team needs, and as a top laner, that is just like one of the probably the best skill that you could have. So watching those two play is probably the most interesting from my perspective.
It's really interesting, actually. Really interesting. So yeah, go on.
No, I think I agree, because I think we've kind of said that we always felt like Bear Tree was probably second in the league next to you. I think I've always felt that there's quite a clear gap between yourself and other top laners in the UKLC, just because of the pedigree that you bring to any team. But I've always said that like Bear Tree and we actually were talking a lot about Aragon as well. We're two very promising prospects for UK top laners. What do you make of UK talent in general? You know, in terms of the way the scene is growing up. I mean, look, Rifty, me and you go back years for how long we've been around the UK scene. Do you think we're starting to produce more talent that can make it to the top end of League of Legends?
I'm not sure, to be honest. Like this is probably one of the first splits in years and years by this point where we're seeing more investment put into, say, here with the second division, the third division, and I think it's got a lot of potential. I'm actually quite happy to see it, because obviously we haven't really had a lot of primary investment over the years, except for just the main league, and even then that's been a bit iffy, you know. So I'm quite hopeful. Like I said, I am keeping my eye on a few of the other top laners, and I hope they do well with it. I genuinely do, because
right?
there's potential here. You know, I remember back in the day when we would go to Epic LAN, and the first place prize was a headset and a mouse from a company you've never even heard of, you know. So to me, this is amazing. I do genuinely hope we produce some more talent. Yeah.
I remember having conversations with you around the era of like Four Nations, you know, when we had that tournament, and everybody is waiting for the time where the UK scene had this kind of investment. Well, do you know what? 6 years later, we're here.
Yeah, we're here.
We're here.
I'm personally glad both of you stuck around for it. Thank you very much for joining us here, Rifty. We are going to end it there. And guys, we'll be back with our third game of the day. It's Barrage taking on Munster. That's one you don't want to miss. So we'll see you after the break.